We're starting from home and away passport holders. Last week was a very big week for the spirit of Pan-African criminals, as details emerged that the RSF commander's younger brother, Mohammed Hamdan, was a holder of a Kenyan passport.
Right, we'll go straight to a top story. These are tonight. Questions swirl around Kenya's immigration system after revelations that a top Sudanese war financier, Algoni Hamdan Dagalo Musa, obtained a Kenyan passport despite being under heavy international sanctions.
On the list of these passport awardees, as shared by Boniface Mwangi, were extended family members, because a family that benefits from wars together, they get new citizenship together. In the spirit of Oprah, you get a passport, you get a passport. Everyone, every foreigner with Ikulu ties gets a passport, even Zimbabwean businessman. And as the State House occupies bestie, who was flagged for election malpractice in Zim, Wicknell Chivayo, made it on that list.
Also included on that list is controversial flamboyant Zimbabwean businessman and socialite Wicknell Munodani Chivayo, named at the center of massive graft probe in Zimbabwe.
So many were wondering just how someone like in the waiting room of the passport, waiting for your passport to come out, how did they get their biometrics taken?
Reveal over 20 Sudanese nationals were naturalized as Kenya passport holders by passing normal biometric checks by sending photos directly to immigration officials. Some applications containing glaring inconsistencies, including adult photos attached to minors' files and false addresses.
They bypassed these checks meant for simple rule followers like you and I by just sending their photos, even some of their best selfies, directly to the immigration services. Some even had their passports processed on Valentine's Day because GOK's Cupid's arrow is always pointed at some criminality. Kenyans are outside those immigration offices, time traveling to cyber cafes like it's 2001, being asked for fingerprints and proof of concept of being a real Kenyan person, while these families are just WhatsApping their details. This just proves that if the government wanted to, it would make things work, unlike the steering dimples of Nairobi's leadership. So we always think about Pan-Africanism being very difficult. It's a very difficult journey. But GOK keeps proving that if you come to them with skeletons in your closet, they will enter that closet with you and even make room for your family. The head of the immigration services, Evelyn Cheluget, is implicated in this registration of genocideers, and which is happening in her docket, and it raises a lot of questions about how this was done and how many more are just out there wandering free and get these very documents that Kenyans fight so hard for. This isn't the first time she's allegedly linked into the shady matters, because during the Artur scandal, she proved that whatever foreigners want, they shall get. So Kenyan citizens are struggling to get IDs. You can check out our episode from The Big Picture last week. And we've seen how border communities have to travel in search of water, pasture, and a mirage of broken citizenship to prove themselves to a citizenship panel, but foreigners doing numbers in the criminal charts were fully issued with passports so they can be free to globetrot. Anyway, good luck, Kenyans. You've already dropped so far down the ladder on the corruption charts. So what are a few more steps into hell? Because we are already there. And speaking of hell, we are all the way from Russia with war scams. So hundreds of Kenyans have been lured into the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, leaving their families in a lot of distress as they receive reports of their deaths on the battlefield. Being a Kenyan means that you are at war at home and also away for your dignity and your own life.
Hundreds of Kenyans have been lured to the ongoing Ukraine-Russian war, leaving families in distress following reports of deaths in the battlefield.
A report by Citizen revealed that there are many inside networks involving government officials from the Department of Defense, the Immigration Services, DCI, and the Ministry of Labor, all joining hands to send Kenyans to the unsafest regions in the world.
Tonight, we expose the inside networks how government officials from the Department of Defense, Immigration, DCI, and the Ministry of Labor have been aiding the export of Kenyans to the Russian war.
So I've never seen Kenyan security agencies this coordinated since the Great Maandamano gathering of 2024. Every stop to recruit Kenyans into the refrigeration zones of Russia had a prize, with labor officials demanding 5,000 Kenyan shillings per person, DCI officers asking for 20,000 Kenyan shillings per person, and immigration officials demanding 50,000 Kenyan shillings per person. Cumulatively, your shipping costs as a Kenyan to go fight in a war abroad is 75,000 Kenyan shillings across ministries. It's not even 6 figures, you guys. Like, they could have at least adjusted it for inflation, like apartments in Kilimani, you know. Well, some of the recruits were fully aware and they consented to go to combat. Others had no idea because they had gotten tourist visas and ended up on the front lines. Imagine taking a tourist visa and the first monument you see is a Ukraine drone connecting you to your ancestral realm. So some of the recruits who consented were trained by being shown videos of combat. Not an actual war, just like videos. So war cannot be prepped through this meeting. You know, this meeting could have been an email that the Kenyan government has going on. So Kenyans who were sent there were depending on a Zoom meeting to learn hand-to-drone combat, which is, I don't know how that was supposed to work out, but that's terrifying for anyone. So the safety of Kenyans is at stake. And even though our lives have been cheaply valued at 75,000 Kenyan shillings, we deserve a government that defends all of us, no matter the cost. And on to some egregious prices, because this is something I was thinking about earlier. This story is about how mayai ni waziri wa msoto. The price of poultry eggs, especially if you love eggs, is up by 20%. Bachelor pads in Nairobi could be targeted for wealth hoarding if the prices stay this expensive. So this is due to the high poultry feed prices in the market. A tray of eggs used to cost about 450 shillings. It's up to 480. Local shops are selling a single egg at the former price of a smoky. One egg could cost 19 shillings to 25 shillings, depending on the agricultural struggles of your neighborhoods. If you shop at major supermarkets, a tray could go between 575 shillings and 604 shillings. Supermarket buyers are really flexing their willingness to be exploited, because buying a tray at 600 shillings when you can negotiate for a chicken and feed it in your mansion is it's just bad economics. I'm sorry. And this year, the 3 horse foods of survival, if you're a person standing out, unlike Prof, ugali, eggs and cabbage have joined their collective power. They've understood their power in every household, and they've understood their worth against Kenyans struggling with the cost of living. So if you are there comfortably dining on all 3, your personal GDP could pay off part of this country's debt. And congratulations to you. And remember, Kenyans, as you navigate the difficulties of your day-to-day lives, GOK has valued your life at 124 trays of eggs. So don't put yourselves in one basket. And lastly, we also, crude oil is good oil, as the energy CS Wandai, and he has that resting tired lecturer face, was asked critical questions about our energy sector, and his answers are what you would give after you freestyled an exam pre-chat GPT.
What type of oil is it? Just for...
It's crude oil. This is crude oil. Yes.
All oil that comes from the earth is crude.
Yes, this is crude oil, yes.
Yes, but what type of oil is it? And, how does it compare with, what is out there?
What is important, and this I'm saying as an untechnical person, is that from the early oil program, which happened some years back, and which produced some oil that was then exported, it was established from the market that it is good quality oil.
So he wasn't sure what oil is being drilled in the country, because maybe he thought being the energy CS is about the power you use to perform a cesarean section. I'm not sure if the CS is aware, but Iran supplies about 5% of global oil, and the war Israel and the US have launched against them puts the Kenyan energy sector in crisis. The Strait of Hormuz has been blocked, which could raise crude oil prices by 20%, and Kenya's G2G deal could be the own goal of the century. This could affect the cost of everything in the country, including transport and food. So if you have eggs in your house right now, welcome to the Millionaires Club.